Hey guys, this is a production of the J&J Media, brought to you by Minipeach Framing Designs and Gift Shops. Welcome to the J&J Sports Talk, where we have myself, Jordan DeRosick, and John Freeman. And then we got a special guest, JCR Clashin, a.k.a. Thomas Kohick. You there?
What's up? I hear you.
All right. Just making sure you're there. All right, so we'll get off started. So we're going to start off talking about NFL Week 2. A lot of stuff went on. We had the Bucs versus the Saints. We had Mike Evans getting an ejection, and Tom Brady slowing down. I think he's going to be retiring after this year. That's my
That
prediction.
man looks like death right now is what he looks like. You ever seen a picture of that dude?
His skin is sunken in. I don't know if he completely aged over the season, but that's what it looked like.
Looked like his wife has sucked the soul out of him. It's scary.
Yeah. Well, I was watching the game on my phone when me and Clashman were waiting for the Cowboys game, and it just seemed like Tom Brady could not move the ball down the field. That's basically what I was seeing.
See, so I didn't really get a chance to watch the game this week at Tom Brady's, so I'll take your word on that. But he doesn't look all there, to be honest. It's almost like he's not ready to play. As you know, he took that long absence from the team during the preseason and training camp, so I don't really know what's going on. But right now, I don't see how they're gonna make it far. With the way he's playing. The running game has been good, but the running game will only get you so far. So.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it, Clash?
I think Tom is Tom. His knowledge alone will carry them deep into the playoffs.
Knowledge can only get you so far, though. I mean, if you're aging, because he even said after the Cowboys game that he was sore after the game. Like, he's never really got that sore after a game.
Well, he is like 44, 45, so it's expected.
Yeah, I guess. But also, we have Mike Evans. He got kicked out of the game trying to protect his quarterback. What do you think about that?
You want me to go or Clash?
Either or.
All right. So for me, honestly, I like it. Lights a fire. It could light a fire under the team. I mean, you got to show that continuity if your quarterback and the rest of your players in your team, and show you'll have their back. I think it was a good thing. I mean, the ejection is never good, but overall, if anything, it might actually bring the team closer than it will bring them apart or hurt them on the field. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. I mean, it cost him one game though. One game suspension. It may have been the case.
I don't like the suspension. I like the ejection, but I do not like the suspension.
I agree. I think a suspension might have been a little bit far in that case scenario, but I mean, the NFL is trying to make a example out of some of these players right now.
Look at Odell versus Josh Norman in like 2016.
Oh,
I think
they had like
that was way
5
worse.
penalties, and then there's like 5 non-called penalties, and then still end up playing the next week.
Yeah, but the NFL is kind of soft right now. I mean, you had a man get suspended for betting on a game for a year that he wasn't even a part of. So I mean,
there's also we'll get down later till we get to the Cowboys game. Clashing knows the NFL is getting softer. They're protecting their quarterback, Joey B over there. Apparently he can't slide the ground and get tackled. But whatever. Let's see.
What are your opinions on the actual game though, JWoww, between the Bucs and Saints? I don't know if you caught a lot of it.
I think it's just the defense just carrying him from what I see versus the Saints, and then when he played the Cowboys live, it just seems like the defense is the defense and the running game is just carrying him. He'll just make his usual check down passes. I mean, he got all the talent in the world with his receivers, with Godwin, Julio Jones, and Mike Evans. Then you got Leonard Fournette in the backfield and a great defense. You almost don't really need to do anything at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest. They probably lose that game if Jameis Winston doesn't throw those 3 interceptions. I mean, that's the thing with Jameis, man. One week he looks like he could be an all-pro quarterback, and the next he just looks like he doesn't belong in the league. And I really think that loss was more on Jameis being a terrible quarterback than it was what the Buccaneers did on the offensive or defensive end.
Yeah, he does show his spurts. That's why he had that 30 for 30 season. I think it was 2019. He had 30 touchdowns and 30 picks. I don't know. But I just think he's a funny guy. He could play like trash all he wants, but he's pretty funny.
He always stays prepared.
Yep. What did his trainer said? Be prepared. That's what he
Yeah, be
basically said.
prepared.
What about you, Clash? Does he think the defense carry him, or is just the knowledge is going to carry him?
Nah, Tom Brady will carry the team. He can throw. He can be like Ben and just throw 5-yard passes all game. As long as he doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to be in every single game.
Yeah, I mean, he almost apparently big. There were some rumors about Big Ben going to the Cowboys, which I thought that was pretty blasphemous from here. All that rumors going around.
When was this rumor? Because I have not
Last
seen
week.
or heard this rumor
I don't
at
know.
all.
Clashman was pulling up some. I don't know. This probably
It was like official ESPN news, like where they reached out and like he was a possibility.
no. It's Cooper Rush time.
Well, let's just transition. Let's transition to that then with the Cowboys. I mean, do they need another quarterback? I think Cooper Rush in his 2 starts so far has proven he's a very capable quarterback in the meantime until you get your starter like Dak back. I mean, he's
I
2
don't-
Go ahead.
I don't think they need another quarterback, but there are reports where they're still eyeing some possible.
It's Jerry
selection.
Jones saying that's the reports. Jerry Jones, he's like toying with the idea of this like becoming the same situation with Tony Romo and Dak Prescott whenever Tony Romo got hurt in 2016, which he just needs to stop talking because if he's end up gonna actually doing it and it's gonna end up being a mistake. Cooper, don't get me wrong, Cooper Rush is a great backup quarterback for a couple games, but once people start getting film on him, I think they're gonna start catching on, and that's why we need our franchise quarterback to start coming back.
I can agree with that, but what I will say is if you watched Big Ben last year, that rumor is terrible because I'd rather have Cooper Rush all day long than a Big Ben that we saw play last year because that was god awful play. Like that was terrible.
Oh, and he got lucky going into playoffs with almost all the pieces unfolding for the Steelers to go in playoffs that year.
Any opinions on your former quarterback, Lashin?
I don't think Big Ben would play as well as Cooper Rush, but the experience would probably carry the Cowboys for 3 weeks and maybe win them 3 of the next 4 games.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think they were saying Dak may come back week 4 or 5. Hopefully, I think they're facing the Giants on Monday Night Football this week. So I think I still think the Giants are a fraud 2-0 team. I mean, literally, they faced I think it was the Panthers and
The Titans, who got shellacked by the Bills.
Exactly. It's the Titans, and they barely won that game because the Titans missed a field goal at the end of the game, and Clashing, I don't know what he was saying about how apparently the Panthers are a good team.
Panthers are a good team. They're not an elite team. They're not a trash team. They're good. They're an 8-8 team.
No, they're a 4-13 team. That's what they are. With Baker Mayfield.
They have Christian McCaffrey, like DJ Moore, I think his name. They got some weapons.
They do have some weapons in Carolina. I honestly still think the worst thing Carolina has is the quarterback play because I've said for a couple years now I don't think Baker Mayfield's a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, and I'll just stick to that. I don't care what anyone says.
It's better than their previous 3 quarterbacks, though.
The only reason Baker Mayfield had success at the Browns is because they have all the talent level they had over there when he was there. When you have almost 4 first round picks in a row, you're gonna have good talent adding up over the seasons, and then adding in OBJ and then Landry going over there, along with the 2 great running backs that they had at the time. Of course, the team's gonna go in the playoffs.
There was no excuse to that talent Baker had 2 years ago that they shouldn't have made a run at the Super Bowl more than just getting through 1 round of the playoffs.
We could use the talent for any team. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers had a good receiver core. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys had a good O-line. They had Amari Cooper. They have Zeke. They have Pollard. They have talent on their team. Is that why they made the playoffs? Because of talent alone?
No, I mean they had a great team. That's what it was. I think last year's receiving core was better than I think last year's receiving core for the Cowboys was better than this year's receiving core. Now that they got rid of Amari Cooper and Wilson, he's with the Dolphins now. But
100%, I would say the Cowboys had one of the two top wide receiver cores in all the NFL last year.
Yeah, but their quarterback play is what they're missing.
They did, yeah. Dak got really
Dak is
streaky at the end of the year.
50-50. Dak can have a good game and then have a bad game the next week. He's just up and down all over the place. He's not consistent.
Yes, I know that's the hard part about being a Cowboys fan is seeing the inconsistency with Dak. But I think he just needs to get back in a rhythm. The main thing is they need to get the run game back going because back when Dak had success in 2016 to 2018 is when Zeke was running the ball, or not just when Zeke, the team was running the ball because they weren't. Now Zeke's barely getting 10 to 15 carries a game. Back then he would get 20 to 25 carries a game at minimum because they would depend on the run game so much, and that's what opened up the play action field for Dak, which made Dak look like a great quarterback. It all starts with Zeke. That's the main thing. But before Zeke, you got to have a good O line, and if Zeke's getting pounded in the backfield 5 yards before the line of scrimmage, you can't go anywhere with that.
Ashton, I see you unmuted. You got anything to say?
No comment.
All right, well, let's go to the Cowboys defense then. With Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons is the best defensive player in football right now. At this moment in time, he's the best defensive player.
Would you think
Is
say T.J. Watt?
Is there any doubting it right now?
I think T.J. Watt and Minka, I think they're a step above them. It could be a little bit of a biased opinion, but I think T.J. Watt. You can say Parsons at his position is the best, but I still think at outside linebacker position, T.J. Watt is way better.
I'm saying as a player that can play multiple defensive positions in coverage and in pass rush and make an impact on the game.
Might be the most versatile defensive player. Yes,
that's a better way of putting it. I think he's the best and most versatile player on defense right now in the NFL.
The thing is, he's dominating and not even being a main pass rusher. He's probably the majority is a pass rusher, but if he was a DN like T.J. Watt, he'd probably have way more sacks. But he's so good and versatile, he can go play and run down running backs across the field on the other side of the field. That's the thing. It's how good he is, and I think that's why he's one of the best defensive players out there right now.
Honestly, my favorite thing to watch him do is in coverage against running backs and slot receivers. I mean, the dude is just so athletic. He can literally guard those guys almost like if he was a safety. It's kind of insane.
And he does go into coverage sometimes. Very rarely, but surprisingly he does pretty damn good.
Last year he did it a lot more if you remember towards the beginning of the year, and he was really good then. Like the dude's got amazing skills, and if anyone knows that, it's clashing. I mean, his favorite college is Penn State, and he saw what Micah did there. So,
Gosh,
I'm still here. I'm trying to think of the Steelers linebacker that got hurt like a few years ago, and now he's out of the NFL. Wasn't it like Ryan Shazier or whatever? Shazier? That's who I'm trying to compare it to because Shazier could cover running backs, and he had that speed to get to the quarterback if needed.
Yeah, Shazier was a great talent. I mean, that is probably a good comparison to Micah, but I think Micah might be a little bit more athletic from what I've seen so far.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They say his
they're
closeout.
both great talents.
His closeout speed is one of the highest. It's the quickest in the NFL from all the stats and everything. Imagine just like being one of the fastest in the game, like running backs or wide receivers, and you just see this guy just run across the field and just end up tackling. You're like, where'd that guy come from?
I think if you take, oh sorry, Jay. Well, I was gonna say I think if you take Micah Parsons off that Cowboys defense, it makes a huge difference compared to some other teams. I think without Micah Parsons, Micah Parsons being on that line, I think that secondary would be exposed a lot more than they actually are because that opposing quarterback of the opposing team would have a lot more time to get the ball off. And I really as good as how many interceptions Diggs had last year. If you give a receiver enough time against him or any corner, they're gonna get open and they're gonna shred you apart. And without Micah, you have some other big names on that line, but is anyone making the impact Micah's making off the line? You know what I'm saying?
No, I think it feeds into the other. I think Micah feeds into the other players, which then they are having the same impact as him. It's just, and the same with Diggs. And he had some trouble guarding. I think the stats saying he only allowed 2 receptions with Jamar Chase, but he wasn't really watching the game. He wasn't really guarding Jamar Chase most of the game. He was mostly guarding Higgins, and Higgins was actually getting some catches on him. So I don't know. I don't know if he just had a bad game or just. I mean, that's pretty typical with Diggs. He's just trying to go for the interceptions, which leads into how Joe Burrow did. He got sacked 6 times, and I don't know if he's just going to be the next Andrew Luck keep getting sacked all this time. He's just gonna end up retiring early.
If he keeps getting hit, he's out because like, bro, you can't make a career as an NFL quarterback if you're getting sacked 8, 9 times a game. I mean, your career won't last long. And Joe is an amazing quarterback. I think it's just a matter of getting a line around him. And they claim to make all these improvements this offseason, but if anything, the line has looked worse than it did towards the end of last year. It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
It's pretty bad.
they're literally on pace for 100 sacks given up. That's pretty terrible. They're allowing six and a half sacks a game. That's the quarterback can't get the ball off, and if the quarterback can't get the ball off, how are you gonna win games?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that, Clash?
Oh, they'll adjust. As a Steelers fan, I dealt with this last year. That's why Ben was getting the ball out so quick. I think if the Bengals have a good offensive coordinator, they'll adjust and get rid of the deep stuff and learn for Joe Burrow to get the ball out quicker, which will limit the hits, and they might actually move the ball. Plus, they have a good running back, so they don't really have to rely on Joe Burrow.
Do you think that it's going to transform more into a running team? Because I mean, I saw them running the ball pretty good in the game. It's just whenever their pass blocking was just terrible.
I think they should, because if you have a bad offensive line, I mean, running the ball is going to help that, and it might open up some deep shots every now and then.
Yeah, I'd say that's very true.
Any team it does. Yeah, I mean, you play anytime you can run the ball good, you set up the play action pass. It's gonna lead to good offense.
That was the same thing with Cooper Rush on the first couple drives. The Cowboys were running the ball pretty good, and that's what ended up causing the first. I think it was the first touchdown was off of a play action. Noah Brown was wide open for the touchdown. He almost missed him. It was a good catch by Noah Brown. So I wouldn't go on the Cooper Rush train yet. Just saying, he's a good backup quarterback for now. And then we got what was the Monday Night Football game? We had the Eagles versus the Vikings.
The Eagles versus the Vikings.
There was too many games to really pay attention to one game.
The Bills versus the Titans, or a college team. That's what it looked like.
The fraud Titans.
Yeah.
They took out what's his name, the Titans quarterback Tannehill, and then they also took out Derrick Henry because he wasn't even getting any yards either. I think he averaged like 1.5 yards a carry.
It didn't matter who was at quarterback for the Titans on that one. I don't know if you watched that. Like, Malik Willis got in there, and I swear he fumbled the ball like 5 times. It was a bad night for the Titans.
He was trying doing his own read options and thinking he could pull it out for himself, and end up getting hit in the mouth pretty quick. So
I got one thing to tell Malik Willis: you are not him. You are not Michael Vick. You are not him. All right, calm down.
I know
because that was terrible.
I know who is him, and that's Stephon Diggs. That dude's him.
Ooh.
He's him.
He was definitely him. That boy could not be stopped on Monday Night Football.
You think he's him, Clash?
I don't know yet.
Or you say Tyreek Hill is him?
No, I don't even say Tyreek Hill is him. He has talent, but I mean, once the defense figures out how to cover him, is he gonna like Cooper, like from what's L.A. I think is where he's from. Like he gets doubled and triple teamed, and he finds a way to get 15 receptions.
Yep.
Diggs is just like a deep guy threat. I feel like.
And if he gets in coverage, or people start getting in coverage, and he can't get those deep threats, how else is he gonna get the ball?
I disagree though. I've watched a lot of Bills games. Diggs is a very much improved route runner and really good at doing what he does. I mean, and you think about that. Think about Gabe Davis late in the season really came on. You remember the Kansas City game in the playoffs last year?
Ooh, man, that guy went off.
Did you see what he did week 1? Gabe Davis is for real. And when he comes back from injury, you're just going to open up the field more for Diggs. And when Diggs is getting doubled, then you got Davis and I forget who else they have on that team. You got Dawson Knox at tight end, who's no scrub himself. So, I think this Bills team's scary. I don't know who's gonna stop that offense. Like and adding Von Miller on defense to that pass rush and already bend but no break defense. I really like the Bills. Honestly, I see them coming out of the AFC already.
They're
I thought that
definitely
before the year
favorites
started
for sure. Definitely the favorites. Well, who do you see the favorites for the NFC? I mean, the Eagles are looking pretty good.
NFC's tough.
I don't think the NFC has any favorites.
Yeah.
It's just terrible right now.
Terrible.
You have a lot of the Eagles are playing really good right now, but we'll see if if it continues. If they keep playing like they are now and able to run the ball, they'll make it very far into the playoffs. But out in the NFC West, the Packers, who else they got? The Niners doesn't seem like they're playing like they were last year. Arizona, I mean, quarterback, you know how the new Call of Duty game's coming out, so we might see some downfall in that quarterback play.
I don't know. What was the stats? They said he plays a lot. He plays worse when
It's
Call of Duty comes out.
I think it was like his completion percentage drops like 15% or something. Like that's insane. Like when there's double XP days for Call of Duty on those weekends, like it drops a ton. Yeah, but
he needs to study film. It was in his contract that he needs to study film.
They took that out though because of backlash.
They took it out.
They took it out because of backlash. Yeah. Because like Kyler Murray and his agent let out that it was in the contract, so it was like a whole backlash thing. So Arizona.
But they signed the contract. I don't know why they
signed a contract to get the money, knowing they could make an uproar to get it out of the contract.
Yeah, but damage was done.
The damage is done. If Kyler Murray's gonna get showed up, yes, he does good without film, but you're a quarterback in the National Football League getting paid millions a game. You're gonna need to watch film.
100%. And like when we were talking about favorites in the NFC, like as an Eagles fan, like Clash brought up, we have been playing great. And he talks about the running game. I'm not afraid of our running game, stopping at all. We were the best rushing team in the league last year. I don't think that's the issue. Issue is, can Jalen Hurts continue to show improvement in the passing game? Because last year he was very inaccurate, and there was a few throws on Monday that were a little iffy. But if we can keep that together and our secondary can continue to play the way they did against the Vikings, which I don't think is likely, I think we'll be there. I think we're definitely a top 4 or 5 team in the East in the NFC right now. I think we should win the NFC East based on how everyone else looks, but that Cowboys defense can also carry them very far. So I'm not super excited about it. Like you were saying, the NFC is very wide open compared to the AFC, where I think it's like 2 or 3 teams that are going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, usually from the AFC, the Ravens are typically a regular season team, but once they get to the playoffs, they never show up, or Lamar never shows up. So I wonder how. I mean, they just lost to the Dolphins. I don't know if the Dolphins are actually good this year, where Tua and Tyreek got that connection. But I predicted before the season that Tua was going to have the most yards passing in the NFL, which he's currently leading right now. I know it's only week 2, but I think that Tyreek and Tua connection, that deep ball, they're just going to continue to eat it up.
I think the Dolphins are just a Madden cheat code. You got the 2 fastest players at wide receiver in the league on the same team. Like, how are you going to guard that?
You can't.
Honestly, exactly. But I don't even put that, they give the Dolphins credit for that comeback, but I think it speaks more volumes to the Ravens not being able to put a game away. I mean, 11 minutes left in the game, you're up by 21 points, and you tell me you can't get a couple first downs to ice the game, at all? Your secondary just blows massive 65, 70 play yard touchdown passes over and over again. Yeah, the Dolphins did what they need to do to come back and win that game, and they deserve credit. But at the same time, no team other than the Falcons should be blowing leads like that on a regular basis. That is god awful defense.
Speaking about the Falcons, I think they faced the Rams, and they almost beat the Rams. The thing is,
came back.
Who was it? Ramsey. He got late interception. I think it was 3rd and 13. They were coming in the red zone. Mariota threw an interception near the touchdown area, and then Ramsey goes up to the sideline. He's like, I'm him. No, he's not him. You literally got you got showed up week 1 by Diggs. I think he had almost 130 passing yards on Ramsey from Diggs. Then you're facing the Falcons, and then you're him again. You get 1 interception in desperation time, and you're him. I think he needs to settle back down because we got a lot of football left.
Yeah, I mean, what Ramsey's fails to realize is he got cooked almost that entire game. But you make 1 pick and you're definitely him. I mean, that's just how he looks at it. But I'll show Ramsey who him is, and there was only 1 him ever to be in the NFL. 1 second here. And this man still doesn't get the credit he deserves. This right here, it's not going to show it. Darrelle Revis, that is him. That was the
Revis
guy.
Island.
And no one compares. No one.
I don't think anybody's gonna have that type of season ever again.
It wasn't even just a season. It was like 3-4 seasons in a row. You didn't even throw that man's direction unless you wanted that thing picked.
There was this one cornerback that got drafted that apparently he didn't allow a touchdown all throughout his college career, and then in the
Garner
preseason,
Johnson.
yeah, I haven't seen how he's doing, but he could be him. But
He's good. Garner Johnson is really good. He impressed me. Like I said, I watched a lot of Cincinnati, and like in the preseason, he never gave up a touchdown. I believe he has so far during the regular season, but you also got to think about what's around him. I mean, he plays for the Jets. You're only going to do so much by yourself on a defensive end against NFL players. So we'll see how he does. I got high hopes for him as well as Hall. Hall on the Jets is a corner who's been injured on and off, but he was a first round prospect from actually my college of University of Virginia, and he's finally healthy on the other end, and hopefully those two together can make that defense nice and stout for the Jets, and maybe down the road be a competitor.
Speaking of the Jets, their quarterback Zach Wilson, he got that dog in him.
Who says Zach Wilson? I know of a Zach Milfson, but that's a
that's the guy. He has that dog in him.
Hey, look, you know where Zach Wilson went to college, right?
Where did he go to college?
BYU, because he's been committed to Cougars for life, man.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
That's him right there.
So moving on into week 3, which starts tonight, we have Thursday night football. We got the Steelers. We got a good matchup. Steelers versus the Browns. I think we get the MVP of Mitch Trubisky. How do you think Mitch Trubisky is going to do tonight, Clashing?
I don't have high hopes.
Come on, Clash.
I'm kind of hoping he gets hurt.
Oh my God!
So that way,
who do you want him to put in?
Comes in the game, throws for 400, and we somehow win the game.
Hey, Clash, I just want to remind everyone, who was telling the Steelers to draft Kenny Pickett for like a year and a half? I know you and JWoww know. Kenny Pickett's
okay,
my boy,
so you draft this quarterback and then you don't even play him. You're playing Mitch Trubisky over this first round quarterback.
Really good in preseason, and the Steelers are known for not starting rookies in the first few weeks, so it was expected. Mitch needs to make a mistake for him to get taken out.
Well, isn't that how Big Ben his rookie year, and then he ended up playing a couple games into the season?
I
he went
don't
like 13
think Big Ben started right off the rip.
No, I think it was Brad Maddox. Was that him that started? I think it was Brad Maddox, and then he got hurt like halfway through the season, and that's when Big Ben came in.
Yeah, I remember Big Ben. He had a pretty good first couple of seasons record-wise, and then I think didn't he win a Super Bowl?
It was a Super Bowl, I think his first or second season. It was very early on. It was very early on.
I mean, this could be the same thing. I mean, Clashton said he wants him to get hurt tonight, so I don't know about that. I don't know. We're looking for the players' safety.
We don't wish injury on any NFL player.
That's right? Clashton. That's him. He said it. He said that. He's our guest. He's the guest of the show. We do not go with what he said. But I do want to see the backup quarterback from that they just drafted. See how he does.
Kenny Pickett, man. Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. And who's the wide receiver? Is it Pickens?
George Pickens. He's got a total of 2 receptions through 2 games. So.
Yep. He is not a starter, so that's why he's mainly a third down receiver. So.
Well, they didn't make him an every down receiver because that dude, he's a bully out there. I think he's going to be the next. I think he's going to be the next. What's his name? From 49ers.
I have no clue you're talking about.
Bully on the 49ers?
No, he's like Debo.
You think he's going to be like Debo?
Not Debo.
Exactly, he's going to be like Debo. They need to play him like Debo with how they've been playing.
Not Debo. No.
He's a bully.
He might be a bully, but he's not Debo.
I think he's Debo.
I don't think he is.
Are you talking about his skill set or his attitude?
Both.
Like, I think his attitude's a little more out there than Debo's. I think skill set wise, he might be able to do some of the same things Debo does. But George Pickens, he doesn't have the muscle Debo does. Like if he's gonna be doing those jet sweep runs and handoffs in the running back position, that man's gonna put on some weight, bro.
He just got that dog in him. That's how he feels. So who are you going to predict tonight? I think. Oh, I don't know. I don't know who I have to win tonight. I think the Steelers are going to come out. They need to start
Yeah.
running Najee Harris a lot more.
Dude, Najee's looked bad through these first 2 weeks, but it's honestly because they're not giving him the ball enough. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm gonna go Steelers just because I think they feed Najee more, and I think Trubisky will make up for having a subpar first couple games, and I think he'll have one of those what is it, MVP type games.
MVP.
So yeah, I got Steelers and Trubisky winning this one in like probably a 3 to 7 point. It'd be a close game most of the way, I think.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a low-scoring game, but I do think Mitch is gonna have a pretty good passing game because you've seen how the Browns gave up a lot of yards late to the Jets last week, so there might be chances. Yeah.
The Jets. Jets. Jets.
That's a weird way to spell mid, but all right.
Minipeach Framing Designs and Gift Shops is worldwide on their websites, www.minipeach.com. That's www.minipeach.com. They offer something for everyone in their gift store. They have so many gift ideas including baby items, home decor, garage signs, gift for kids, candy, Nintendo items, Harry Potter, Sailor Moon, frames, bereavement items, gnomes, pet items, canvases, art-free walls, and more. They even stock items for every season including Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween, and Christmas. They even have gift ideas for Mother's Day and Father's Day. Shop www.minipeach.com with promo code JJ10 for 10% off your entire store purchase. Support small business with Minipeach. That's www.minipeach.com. You'll find something for everyone on your store list. The gift shop will somebody ever refer minipeach.com at promo code JJ10 and check out for 10% off your entire store purchase. All right, well let's talk some NASCAR. We gotta go over some Bristol. A lot of equipment failures at Bristol, not just engine blowns, but we had a lot of tire problems, steering problems, and maybe I don't know. There could be some controversy with a couple cars. They suddenly come back out on track and suddenly they're wrecked with Joey Logano's situation. But let's start off with Chris Buscher. He ended up winning the race. I believe Chase Elliott finished second. And then we had Christopher Bell third and Kyle Larson fourth. But yeah.
So I think it was Byron actually third, Bill fourth, and Larson fifth.
Larson fifth.
Yeah. But first thing I had to correct you on is it's no longer Chris Buscher. Let's get that right now.
Oh,
it's Christopher Buscher. Yes. All right.
Mr.
Any
Christopher
NASCAR fan
Buscher
will tell you that. Yes, sir. But if we're gonna get into this, let's get into it. Where do you want to start? You want to start with just how people ran? You want to go into?
I want to talk about more of I want to talk about how hard it was to pass because of their no tire fall off. Because Christopher Buscher did take 2 tires on that last stop, and literally, also with Brad Keselowski, I think he was on older tires, 100 lap older tires until his tire failed. He was out front pulling away from people with fresher tires.
Yeah, so honestly, first thing with the tires, the tire fall off. I agree with the drivers. I think these cars just are too fast in the corners. I mean, they don't really have to slow down. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you're able to roll the center of that much speed to these short tracks, the tire fall off's not going to matter, even if you're losing actual rubber in the tire. The actual tires being blown, I think that's more of a Ford issue. Because as we've seen, it was only Fords that had that issue the entire race. And I think it might have been how aggressive they were with the setup, if not the tire pressures they were using.
But we went a good
way. Tire from the lead?
Yeah,
he burned it. My bad. He was the only one that wasn't Ford, and he blew it on the right rear because he was. But I think his was more just the way he was driving it, because no one else had that issue other than him. Like outside of Ford, and they were all right fronts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's a little odd that every single Ford blew a right front tire around the same distance in the race.
Yeah, about 45 to 60 laps into a run. That's when the right front started blowing up. But we didn't really have those tire problems. I mean, for a good while, I'd say we've always had. I think early in the season we had the left rear keep blowing in practice or during the race. 15 laps into a run because they ran tire pressure so low. I don't know if it was a combination of Goodyear fixing the tire, or it was just the crew chiefs running the PSI too low on early in the runs, and it kept damaging the tire early in the
I think
run.
it's I think it's a mixture, Jay. Well, you got to think they haven't been to a track like Bristol with this new car yet. I mean, you'd maybe say Dover if they're banking, but like it's still nowhere near the same as Bristol. You're not carrying the same speeds into the corners. I think it's just the lows on the cars that hadn't been tested yet, and with this, like you said, they also brought a new tire again for this short track. I think all those things together, maybe some crew chiefs were maybe a little bit aggressive of how they set up the cars. Like I said,
Hmm.
you have these Fords to share all this information. And I think possibly when they shared some of this info, they were a little bit aggressive on the camber or whatever it might have been, the tire pressures, and that's what caused these issues for them. Um, but definitely like the tire wear, I hate. I hate the tire wear they've had at short tracks. Like, and it sucks because I think it'd get improved because if you look at the next gen, intermediate tracks, the mile and a half have been some of the best racing we've had in years, and I think we can all agree on that, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just a learning experience, and we're gonna have some pains to the end of this last year of this next gen car. I think when we get into next year, all this will be solved, or at least most of it. Like Larson and Elliott said after the race, it's just what you get when you have spec parts. You got to think they're bringing these parts out. Everyone's got to use them, and I mean, a
Well,
lot of the
good
time they're
parts or
not even ready for
crappy
use.
parts?
Honestly, if they're crappy, I don't think it's just because they're crappy parts. I think it's because the one factory they have making all these parts is having to rush them out like over and over again because all these wrecks we've had at the beginning of the seasons.
But
And you got
they
to
were
think this
also
next gen car got
limited.
rushed.
They were also
Yeah.
limited a limited amount of parts of what they could at the beginning of the season. Say you can only have a certain amount of this part, certain amount of this parts throughout this whole team.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, I guess you could say because there's been a lot of wrecks this season. A lot of cars have been going through parts and pieces, and you have to reuse a lot of stuff that you have had in wrecks. And I guess that could be a combination of what's going on right now. What do you think it is, Clash?
Uh, I really don't have an opinion on this.
Do you just think the racing's all fine and dandy at short tracks?
Uh, Obviously not Bristol, but I liked how New Hampshire went. So yeah, I think it's good for short tracks.
So I think it depends on the short track. I think New Hampshire was a good race. I think that Richmond, I mean, they're boring races, but they actually had tire fall off and they were fun to actually watch what people's strategies were, who was able to
Yeah,
save the tire. I think
yeah, I
Richmond was
think
good racing.
yeah, both
Um,
Richmond races were
yeah.
really good in my opinion.
I think Bristol and Martinsville were the only two issues we've really seen so far for the short tracks. And I think by next year Bristol will be fixed. You got to remember, we only had a dirt race earlier in the year at Bristol, so you never really got a feel for how the car was going to handle there. On asphalt, obviously we were going to go in a lot quicker, completely different setups. In Martinsville, they've already NASCAR's put in the work. You've seen how much they've done since the last time they were changing, design of the car, the package, the tires are going to bring this next time. So we really got to wait and see how Martinsville is. But overall, like I said, racing's been a lot better this year. In my opinion, JWoww and Clash, I don't know about y'all, but honestly, I commend NASCAR and overall for what they've done with this next gen car. And as long as they keep listening to what the fans want and what the drivers want, I think next year we're going to be in for an even better season, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just on the short tracks. I feel like the tire is too good. Like, cause they know if they're going to Bristol where a lot of loads are on that tire, the tire is just too good, and where it could go a long stretch running. It's running the same lap time from lap 1 to lap 80, and it's just there's I don't know. They've had tires before on the older cars, of course, where they've had major tire fall off, and you've had to take care of your equipment throughout the run, and now suddenly it's just 100%, 100%, 100%. And when you go 101%, you're in the wall. Back then it's like, okay, I can push it 85, 90% into the run. Here we go. I got fresher tires in the sky or fresher equipment at the end of the runs. Now it's just too much 100%. Like with Christopher Buscher, he just took 2 tires and held off Chase Elliott with 4 tires, and there's just no way to get around or get close to it. Honestly, it was just more of just it's just the fight for track position and clean air at this point.
I would say I don't know if it's necessarily the tire. I think it's more just the cars themselves. I mean, even look at road courses. Look how much harder you can drive these cars into the corner and they still rotate. I mean, like you said, you've hated shifting. I mean, a lot of these short tracks, one of the reasons you don't fall off as much is because you can shift and actually help the car turn and drive off the corner. Um, if anything, I think they need to look at the ratios of these gears, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
They
And
did
just
try that at the Martinsville
yeah,
test.
and then focusing more on just trying to make you have to slow down these cars more on entries to the corner because they can just carry so much roll speed. Like I said, even if the tire's actually wearing, you're not going to be able to tell just because the car's rotating so well and you could drive in so deep into the corner.
Do you think it could
Um,
be a matter if they had more horsepower? Say, because I think they're running 670 right now. What if they had 750, 800?
you could say that, but I mean that might help a little. But I mean, you look at the Xfinity cars, which is pretty much almost identical to the horsepower they have now in Cup, and their tires were perfectly fine.
Well, there's also
Um,
completely different tire. The Cup cars have a wider tire, which has more to the surface, and which when you have more tire to the surface, it's easy more to
yeah,
have that all out grip. And then the side profile very low. So I don't know. They're gonna eventually we're gonna get through the season, and then the off season they're gonna try to find out different ways to get this tire to fall off. But I don't think they're gonna find it. I think it's too late into the season to start testing other stuff because you're in the playoffs. You can't really make complete big changes for these teams and be like caught off guard. And you only get 15 minutes of practice
we're
every
gonna
track.
we're gonna see because, like I said earlier the season after Martinsville, they've already changed the tire and some stuff about the car, so that'd be a good judge and if they were able to fix some of those issues. Because the Martinsville race in the spring was terrible. That was like the worst race I've ever seen in my
Yes,
entire life.
that was terrible. What are your thoughts on it, Clash?
I don't even remember the last Martinsville race. So
Well, also a point with that Martinsville race, I think it was like in the 40s where it was very cold, and then when you got a tire that has all this grip in the world, I mean, it's just a perfect storm right there.
I think the gear had a lot to do with that though, because you look at guys like what was it, Kurt Busch in the race, Kyle Busch, or you could just downshift if your car wasn't turning well late in the runs. You could just downshift and get it to turn. Like at that point, like you can't really race. The other guy's just able to do anything he wants to
Yeah,
his car, even though he might already wore the tires off of it.
you could literally just wrap the bottom. And back then, it took at Martinsville, it took maybe you could wrap the bottom, but there's also different lines to where you could take a higher entry, cut low, or kind of diamond it sort of. But now it's just you only get one line, and when everybody's pushing for the same line, eventually cars are going to go around. So,
Hmm.
uh, which I would like to think going into with talking about the people that got eliminated this round with Kyle Busch, he had 2 engine failures in 3 races. I don't know if the my my opinion is I think Toyota sabotaged his engines, knowing that he was even though they told him 18 number 18 wasn't an option for him to come back, they're still messing with his engines for some reason.
I'm not gonna say what they could have done or didn't do. I'm just gonna say when Toyota's president comes out and says we screwed Kyle Busch to have a chance to compete for a championship, you've really fucked up. I mean, that's all on Toyota. I mean, and that's not the only issue they had. Look at Truex. I mean, it wasn't the playoffs, but engine issue himself. Look at Bristol. What was it? Almost every single one of them. Not every Toyota had
The steering
uh
steering issues,
steering
yeah,
issues.
power steering.
They just need to get it together, man. Because at this rate, you're not gonna have anyone in the Final Four if you keep having stuff like this happen in the playoffs. Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch should have been in the next round. I mean, he was running second when at Darlington late in the race when Truex blew his engine. Then he had a chance to win it, blows his engine. You go to Bristol, he's running top five, blows an engine. I can't remember what was the race in between there, Kansas, where I think he had a bad race.
Was it Kyle Busch?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Kyle Busch.
Kansas.
He ended up
He spun
yeah,
sometime.
he spun coming out of 4.
yeah, where his car just wasn't handling good. But like when he's running top five in 2 races right there, easily got to make it to the next round. You can't. Like, how do you even blow an engine at Bristol? Like, how's that even? You're not
You
shifting.
can't. You can't. I mean,
Like,
you can apparently with Toyota's
you
engine.
can, but apparently it was just him at Bristol, and then at Darlington, like in Darlington, I don't even know what happened there. Him and Truex just went up in smoke. It
Back to
just
back.
Yeah, Toyota they let Kyle Busch down hard right there, and I guarantee you he's so excited to be going to Chevy. He is so excited to get those ECR engines. So I mean, I know he's ready. And think about that RCR team next year. Think about that. You're gonna have Reddick and Bush on the same team.
I'm not
I
fully
don't think Reddick
sold.
is gonna be on that team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Reddick's gonna be on that
Give your
team.
He's
opinion on
getting
that.
bought out.
Give your opinion on that, Clash. And I think the same exact thing. I don't think he's gonna be on the
I
team as
think
well.
Reddick is getting bought out. He is going to Gibbs 1 year early.
Gibbs or 2311.
Either. I think he's going to 2311 to drive for Kurt.
Because it's almost
I
all
think
but unofficial that Ty Gibbs is basically going to the number
Ty
18
Gibbs is
car.
going to the 18.
So yeah, I think my opinion is I think Reddick RCR knows what he's doing. He's playing mind games, saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna lease a charter for him." That costs him more money to go buy a charter for him, and he's not even getting the same crew chief that Kyle Busch is taking Reddick's crew chief. Then you got to buy all these parts for this third car and everything, and then it's just gonna cost you way too much. Other than you have Hamlin go buy out the contract, you're actually making money there. You don't have to worry about Reddick no more.
Here's my thing. They're going to go to a third car anyway. They're going to bring Austin Hill in that ride in another year. Austin Hill's going to be in the 33 car come 2024.
I don't think they're going to go and pursue. I don't think Austin Hill is worth going to buy a charter, which charters are very expensive right now.
Does Austin Dillon retire early to bring in Austin Hill?
No.
I mean, I would see Austin Dillon going more into the executive RCR because he almost was the one that engaged the opportunity of Kyle Busch going into RCR. He brought up the idea to Richard Childress, hey, let's go over here. You could work on our team, and we could go win some championships.
Well, Dillon's still going to be around for a while. I mean, he's got a contract all the way through 2025. I think the only reason you bring a guy like Austin Hill in to run part-time cup races for the next 2 years, or what he did this year and what he was going to do next year before this news, is that Reddick's going to get over there with the 33 team, get them established, and then Austin Hill's, that's my personal opinion, Austin Hill's going to take over the third car in 2024. I think this, not only because of the news with this third charter, but also you got to think about it. With Austin Hill brings sponsorship with him, tons of sponsorship.
Of course,
he's got Bennett United Rentals right off the rip. He's got the money to come up in Cup.
They already sponsored him in a race at Michigan.
That's what I'm saying. That was Bennett, right?
Yeah.
And he's got United Rentals and a few others that are backing him. And RCR has already been talking about it moving up to more than one car anyway, or 2 cars before Reddick. I just don't see why it wouldn't make sense or the simplest reason, keep Reddick under contract 1 more year, let him ride it out in the third car. He probably won't be as good as he was this year, but Reddick's going to be Reddick. He's going to find a way to be competitive.
I would go for more.
Austin Hill's in that 2024.
I know Austin Hill brings more of the money, I would say, but I would go with Creed more of the talent wise because I know he had a lot of bad luck this year in Xfinity Series, and especially he almost had the win at Darlington. Him and Larson hard fought win. It was a crazy season for Creed. So I would go more of Creed going to Cup.
Creed has shown massive talent, but I think what RCR looks for is a guy who's going to get the job done consistently behind the wheel. I mean, you look at a guy like Austin Dillon. I mean, I know that's his grandson, but look at Kevin Harvick. Look at others. I think RCR or Childress should rather have a guy like Hill in the car at least temporarily for a year or two, that he knows can go out there and he's not going to wreck the car every week. He's going to go out there and get the finish he can get.
He's going 80 to 90%. You don't have to worry about him going over the edge, which leads us into we got Texas this week for round 2, race number 1. Texas usually doesn't put on the best racing out there. I mean, I'm gonna be there, but it's fun to go out there, have fun, campgrounds and everything, all the events that goes over there. But the racing, it's just not the best product. And then you got hopefully the All-Star race wasn't the best, especially with I think it was that Blaney problem. They threw a caution because Ricky Stenhouse tapped the wall on like the last lap, and their caution rule, I don't know, it was all dumb.
Blaney
And
couldn't get the window net up.
and then Hamlin's over here complaining if he can't get the window net up, he needs to go pit and then start from the back or whatever. Well, I was already long gone because I already thought the race was over. I left as soon as the original checkered flag happened. I was already going back to the camper, and then when we're walking back to the camper, I hear all the race cars going. I'm like, what's going on? They doing like a victory lap or whatever with a lot of cars? But no, I think those they went in overtime, and I found out the next morning because I wouldn't say what my condition was that night, but it wasn't the tip top shape.
Yeah, obviously I'm still gonna be excited about it being a playoff race, and I mean, I might be a little biased. Larson's won 2 of the last 3 there, and he was competitive in the All-Star race where he had that tire issue. But I think it'd put on a better race than it has in years past. But it's just Texas is Texas, man. Ever since they redid that track, it's turn 1 and 2 is
garbage.
just ruined. It's terrible. It's like running a short track at a mile and a half. It's not good.
And almost the same for turn 3 and 4. Because they made it wider.
And made it so wide around the outside that you can't even
you can't use the outside lane. That's the problem. I mean, it's only one in maybe 1.5 lane because they do put the PJ up in about the second lane. So I with the next gen car being better at the mile and a half tracks, I do think it would put a better show than the All-Star race because they have notes and about different setups that they'll have for, especially this can be a 500-mile race, so it's gonna be a very long race. So I expect. I don't know. I really think Blaney's gonna be strong there. He did end up he was strong there in the All-Star race, and I know he hasn't had that was his only unofficial win this season. I think he'll be the 20th driver possibly winning at Texas again.
Blaney is historically strong at Texas, top 5 contender. My only worry with him is I don't think people have said it enough. He doesn't have his crew chief this entire playoff round.
Oh yeah, exactly.
This entire round, this is gonna really show how much that crew chief matters to that team. Now, if they go out and win without their crew chief they've had all year, that man might be looking for a new job. But
Yep.
we're gonna see what he can do without having his crew chief for a month. It's gonna be tough for him to make the next round, especially if not having those playoff points. It's gonna be a struggle.
What do you think about it, Clash?
I think he'll still run good, but I'm going with Kyle Busch this week. He was fast in the All-Star race until he got a flat tire and got ran over by Ross.
Yes, yeah. Ross is on his side, and Chase Elliott gets clipped by Ross. Literally happened right in front of me. I was so shocked. I was like, "What just happened?" I just saw a car almost half flipped. Well, yeah.
That All-Star race was a bad night for Hendrick Motorsports. That was not fun.
Everybody almost literally got taken out. I think there's one car. It was either Bowman or Byron. I think that was the only car that was up front, maybe in mid pack. But yeah, it's gonna be a long race. We got Kyle Busch. Who do you predict? Do you think Kyle Larson's gonna come home with it again?
Tough, man. He dominated it last year, but that was a different car. Toyota's been very strong at the intermediates, like Clashman has said of Kyle Busch. Honestly, I want Larson to win, but I think Christopher Bell probably has a really good shot. He's been good at Texas in the past, and he's on a hot streak, right? He's been the best driver
in the playoffs.
Out of all the playoff drivers over the first 3 races. Christopher Bell's been the best driver on track.
Yeah, I'd see him being strong. Toyota, I'd say 23-11. More of just Bubba in general. He's been pretty good these last several tracks. 1.5 miles, 2 miles. He's had some solid. I don't know what they're bringing to the 1.5 mile package, but they've had some chances where they've had which they end up showing at Kansas. They won the race, so it's gonna be Toyota's gonna be tough to beat. But usually what you see in practice for the first 15 minutes, you'll see the scoreboard or the leaderboard jump up and down with different names, but usually you'll see the Toyotas up there, and if the Toyotas are up there, they're usually staying up there unless they have a problem during the race. And unless they got another piece of vinyl, they'll tape that thing up there, get disqualified again.
A little piece of tape up here real quick.
Yeah, a little piece of tape won't hurt.
Yeah, but I'm going Bell. Who are you going with?
I think, of course, we have our drivers. I want Chase to win. I haven't seen him win ever, but I think Blaney's actually going to come home with it and be the
Okay.
20th different winner.
Yeah, man, it should be a good show. I'm excited for it, but not excited for it. Like I was telling you, just the racing's not good. But being a playoff
Yeah,
race, it
of
always has that
course,
level of excitement.
of course, to be the Debbie Downer, it's Texas. Nobody really wants to watch Texas, but it's the playoffs. Everybody's going to have to. I mean, you're going to watch it.
On the bright side, since they're going to North Wilkesboro next year, we don't have to watch them go to the All-Star race for Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's a one less race for me to go to Texas because I go to Texas every race they go there. But I may have to start making other plans to go. May go to North Wilkesboro.
Oh man.
I don't know. Well, they gotta change this tire though. That's the problem.
We'll see how
No
it goes,
tire
man.
fall off. You're gonna have an all-star race at a short track with no tire fall off. Everybody can be at the bottom.
Hey, look, North Wilkesboro can do some. If they do the tire right, they can do some multi-groove racing in North Wilkesboro. North Wilkesboro is a really good track.
Put some PJ1 on that high side.
I thought you're a resin guy. It's pretty much the same thing, but you're always talking about that resin.
The resin, it wears off after the most grip is whenever it's at like practice, because then after several cars start running off there, then it just wears off and just come whatever rubber's laid down at that point. But I think the PJ1 at Bristol is the best. Resin at Nashville, I think last year's Nashville race, the resin really got me. I was like, man, this resin's pretty good. Also, I wasn't really a big fan of PJ1 last year because I'm like, it's ruining the racing. You need tire fall off, and you need a 750 package instead of just 550 package. You can get no tire wear. But also like New Hampshire PJ1 was pretty good, so I was like, okay, I can't complain about that. Especially over New Hampshire this year, pretty good race. Christopher Bell won the race, so this is gonna be an action-packed round two. We got Texas, then we got Talladega, and then we got the Roval. So
Speaking of your guy Blaney, he's got to be the favorite of Dega, right? Like he's a play track goat at this point.
yeah,
He's really good with
I'd
play
say
tracks.
yeah, any Penske cars. I don't know about Cindric, but I'd say definitely Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. You want to be teaming up with them. And no matter, I know Chevy, Fords, and Toyotas, they say you got to work here, got to work there. I think it's just a matter of how you always got to have your buddies out there. And I think your buddies having like Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano out there, it's really going to help you out. And also Denny Hamlin.
And the
Great.
Fords have shown to be probably the strongest at the play tracks all year. They've been. I remember we went to the Daytona 500 and we saw how dominant they were there.
Exactly.
I mean,
and then the next plate track they went to Dega early in the season, and then it was more of Hendrick. Hendrick was running up front a lot of that race. What do you think about it, Clash? You think Fords are going to be dominant at the Dega next week?
I don't know. It's anyone's race. I mean, the Toyotas were, I thought, really good at Daytona. The spring Dega race, I don't really remember the race that much, so I don't really know how it's going to be this fall. But I would imagine the Fords will be good, like always.
Do you think it's going to start raining in turn 1 and 2 just randomly, and then half the field wrecks?
Yeah, hopefully it starts raining, but it only takes out Chase Elliott. That would be
Why is it going to take out just Chase Elliott?
Oh man.
Because he's a Mickey Mouse.
Like it's raining, he's gonna be in turn 1 with a water hose just spraying it right when he sees Chase coming around the corner.
You see him on the replay, like get caught.
You saw nothing.
Yeah, that Daytona race was pretty crazy.
Yeah, but honestly, like from what all the drivers have said, like I don't like they could have been super cautious and stopped the race early, but that rain literally came out of nowhere. Like it was not there like 2 seconds beforehand. Like it was just boom there.
The funny thing is, they were racing like it was the finish, but then even though they've wrecked and I think there was 20 laps left, they took 3 hours to dry the track up for the last 20 laps. So I think if NASCAR would have relayed the information, hey, once this rain passes through, we're still going to dry the track up. Y'all don't have to be racing like crazy, because they were literally 3-4 wide going into turn 1. I know that even if they were probably single file, they probably still would have wrecked, but they were starting to get real beefed up on going 3 and 4 and wide.
Oh, I thought that was. I didn't like that they did all that just to wait a 4-hour rain delay and go and finish the race with 5 cars on track. That was not even entertaining. That was
No.
terrible.
And it was literally just Austin Dillon just pushing Cindric out of the way. I mean, he still ended up winning. That was the thing.
Yeah. And then Reddick got the second. You knew he wasn't going to pass his teammate trying to get in the playoffs. He's just going to ride right there.
Oh, that would have guaranteed him getting the boot. He wasn't going to get that third charter for that year for RCR. So they, if he, that would have been the most epic FU move right there. Just pass him, and then be like, kind of give him like a.
You see him giving Dylan the middle finger as he's driving by, coming to the checker.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah, of course, Clashing would have done that.
Clashing? I mean, great teammate. I don't know. I've never seen him wreck a teammate in his entire life.
No, he's never wrecked anybody in his entire life. Is that right, Clashing?
No, this is basically true. I might have cut a few noses off, but I mean, I've never wrecked him.
Oh, he's got some enemies out there. I won't name them, but they're specifically waiting for playoff time to get their payback back.
He has to keep up first. He's not on my level.
Oh, all right.
Oh god, we're about to get into NASCAR esports talk now. We got to be careful.
I don't know. Maybe for another episode.
Exactly,
we have to save that.
About that caution last night with what was it, 19 to go? Was that a caution or wasn't it a caution?
I mean, everybody wrecked, so of course it was a caution.
Debatable.
Gladly, you probably should thank me too. I stayed out when I said, "Hey, I'm a pit," and as I'm going around, he said, "Well, if you pit, everybody gets back on the lead lap." And I was like, I almost wrecked because I was turning to go in the pits, and I was like, "Whoop!" Went right out of the pits, and then I know they're still on the lead lap after, but after the race, they did the right choice by putting me back to where I should have finished.
Now, for people that might listen to this podcast and know what you're talking about, what are you talking about right now?
Oh, so we're talking about the Valor team. Was it the Valor Racing League? It's a NASCAR Heat.
I'll explain this here.
All right,
so we have a bunch of fast guys in the league, and then we have a couple.
But what do we do?
Great professionals that actually know how to get on and off pit road without wrecking.
What kind of professionals are they? NASCAR Heat professionals?
All right, so we'll get a little drama here. So we got some pro league guys in the league that are used to running 13% races, never having to pit because there's so many cautions. So you put them in a league race scenario where they have to get on and off pit road. It just leads to mistakes that they're not used to, and they wreck the field because they can't keep their car on the apron.
I mean, from my opinion, the standings have proved to who's been or who's clearly the fastest car or faster of the cars. Clearly, me and you are, I think, first and third in the standings. We have Flash respectfully in second. Yes,
so
I know they got
that opinion. So I do not think the standings represent who has the fastest cars, because Flash has been fast. I mean, Mike's had speed. Chase has had speed.
Everybody's had speed.
I just think it's coming down to who gets in and out of pit road and who just makes least amount of mistakes. I don't know, because like I've said before, like, do we actually know who's fastest? This is just a draft train most weeks. Because everyone
it's usually after the pits who we know who is fastest. Yes, so the piece that they usually don't factor in is getting in and out of pits, and that's what I would say me and you are probably best at, better than not the best, but better than others. They're getting out of pits and they're wondering, well, how are they up front? And then when you clearly have a faster car, you're just going to take off or pass those cars easily, and they're wondering, well, they're in the drafts, and usually they're making excuses why we are up front.
All right, so we'll just edit this whole segment out of the
I don't know
here.
I don't know about that.
We're all out of order now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
All right, well, we're wrapping this up anyways. We're coming up on our.
Let's backtrack to John's comment about, you said Austin Hill might run part-time next year?
That was like a long time. No, full-time in 2024.
I want to bring up something that I listened to on a Dale Jr. podcast this week. Mm-hmm. So I believe it was Noah Gregson. Mm-hmm. He said if he knew these cars hurt as much as they do, he would have never agreed to race part-time in the Cup Series. Do you think Xfinity drivers will now take those comments and maybe not want to race part-time in the Cup Series from now on, unless NASCAR fixes the way the cars take impact.
I don't, because I think Xfinity drivers, no matter what they say, they're going to want that opportunity to race against the Cup guys and show that they can hang in Cup. I think these most of these issues, if not all, will be fixed by next year. I honestly do, but I also think like any Xfinity driver that has not had the opportunity in Cup or many opportunities in Cup that says they wouldn't take that opportunity in a competitive car in a heartbeat to go out there and show what they could do is just lying to themselves. Gregson could say what he wants. In my opinion, he would hop in that car again if Kaulig caught him up and was like, "You can get in this 16 car today and show us what you can do against these guys in Cup."
This is the main reason. This is the main reason why they want to go to Cup. The purse. Let's say a typical race. The purse is usually about 7 times bigger than the Xfinity Series and compared to Cup. Of course, they're gonna. I mean, yes, Gregson is saying the hits are harder, which I believe. My opinion. I don't think the cars, if they keep the cars as stiff as they are, the energy's got to go somewhere, and it's
They're
going
not
straight to the
absorbing the
driver.
impact.
It's
Exactly.
like the old cars. The old cars would crumble up real easily because of sheet metal. And then, but when you got or I think it was, is it composite? It's stiff, and they're wondering. Of course, these cars can take a hit, except for the rears. You're gonna break the toe link. They could take a hit, but the problem is that energy's got to go somewhere, and it's going to the drivers. And then NASCAR, and before they've even raced the next gen cars, they were saying there was leaks of reports saying that the dummy crashers of the car, or the data was saying that these drivers are going to take way harder hits than the old cars. But now and then NASCAR would go out and say the data's that's fake. It's not true. But the drivers are out here taking the hits, and they're like, I'm sore the next week. You never hear drivers say that at all. I mean, after like it may be a small hit. You literally at the Daytona 500, Ricky Stenhouse got turned by Brad Keselowski coming out of 4 on that straightaway, and he hit the wall, and his head hit the wheel. You know how hard of a hit does that have to happen for your head to hit the wheel? And that Hans device literally locked out. That's a problem, and they need to fix that coming next season. I don't know how they're going to fix it, but somebody smarter than me is going to have to find out how to fix that problem.
That's what I'm saying though. I think they will fix it. I don't think they're going to allow that to continue because the drivers won't allow it to continue. Those drivers are not going to continue to get in those cars if they know their life's at risk every time they go in there. Like you said, Ricky Stenhouse hitting his head against the wheel. That's terrible. I mean, you look at Denny Hamlin's impact at Dega. Did we ever even see an in-car of that when he decided he couldn't run the Xfinity race the next week?
Daytona.
That was Daytona. Yeah, there was an
Daytona.
in-car, I think.
We saw the in-car of
Suarez.
Suarez's head was going all over the place.
Yeah, but I think people need to give NASCAR some credit too. Like they've been crapping on them a lot, but they are making the right steps in the right direction. Not only if they're racing on track, but look at when Harvick came out and said all that stuff a couple weeks ago. They've been trying to make improvements as soon as they get complaints.
But they didn't do anything until Harvick did say something. That was the thing. It was to say, well, these crappy ass parts, and then and he was saying it's cheaper to not fix the problem. And then a couple of days later, they've somehow found a way to fix the problem. I mean,
yeah, but the VP of competition of NASCAR this week actually threw some shots back at Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, saying something about like you guys also agree to the parts before we even ship them out.
Yeah.
But that's also the thing. NASCAR, the company is going to say, you need NASCAR more than we need you. Because NASCAR can go survive. They'll go get these young drivers because they'll know they'll go put their lives at risk and put out a show. But when they have these people actually talking, they could just be like, we don't need you. They just start booting them out or fining them for just their comments and stuff like that.
They can fine them, but there's only so many drivers they can say we can do fine without you. I mean, if you lose guys, I mean, you might if they lose a Chase Elliott, for instance, or even though you might not like him, Hamlin's got a big fan base. Kyle Busch has a big fan base out there. Like if all those guys leave at once because you won't fix these issues, they're not going to be fine. Because once they lose that TV deal because no one's tuning in to watch them, there's no sport. That's how every sport works nowadays. It's all based on a TV deal. And if no one's tuning in to watch you race because there's no one they know, not a single soul, you're done for. Like NASCAR will fix these issues. The drivers will always come out ahead.
It's also give and take. It's going to have to come out somewhere. So if you make this car less impactful in the driver's seat, it's going to have to give somewhere in the car. So it's going to take more of a hit, or it's going to take the hit and absorb it, and the car's not going to be as stiff. So it's give and take on what you want.
I love the car, like the way they made it. They built it for like racing wise because they went with the composite bodies like Xfinity. I wish they could figure out a way to make them handle wrecks like Xfinity cars, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like keep those composite bodies, but make them be able to race door bang without actually destroying the car. But you also got to have these cars absorb, like you said, absorb some of that impact, or it's just going to be health issues for all these drivers down the line. If not,
Yeah.
God forbid, another death in NASCAR, which we don't want.
Well, also, like at short tracks, Xfinity, you're making contact on their quarter panel. That's sheet metal. It's going to cut the tire down. But when you got composite bodies hitting these tires, it's not really going to make it as an impact because almost automatically, you touch their quarter panel, that car is going to get a flat tire and they got to go pit. Now they can take contact, but it's all, like also we say, it's give and take, and somewhere it's going to have to give in the setup or the not the setup, but the car. And they're gonna find it out. I think they're gonna find it out in the off season, but they have to find it somewhere within the car and not, or if they don't do anything, then that's a big problem.
Yep. Oh well, I think we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah,
We had a good proactive first podcast.
Yep, this will be, if you're listening to this now, it's probably Friday morning, so it's our very first episode. I know we get off topics here and there, but we're trying our best. So we'd like
we're
give
learning this on the ropes.
Yep, this is J&J podcast. This is me, Jordan, and we got John right there. In our first, I don't know, Thomas a Clashman may be coming more often. It depends on how his schedule is, but we'll try to get some more guests in here that knows a little bit more sports than Clashman.
We get Joey Stone in here next week, maybe.
We could get Joey Stone.
We could always get Shady. We have a lot of options.
Yes, I think your best friend Mike also wanted to come on the podcast as well. I don't know if you want to be on the same episode as him, but
I don't care.
I don't know either. But we'll figure it out. We got a lot of more episodes coming up. Probably we're gonna try to drop it once a week, at most, or a minimum. But we'll have schedules. We have lives just like anybody else, so we're gonna have to see what we're gonna have to do. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a great show. Thanks for Clashing and stopping by, and have a good one. Hey guys, this is a production of the J&J Media, brought to you by Minute Peach Frame and Designs and Gift Shops.